Is moving to Texas falling out of fashion? If you're a longtime Texan, you probably just took a swig of Shiner Bock and said, I hope so. Data is showing that the Lone Star State isn't as much a relocation hotspot as it was a few years back. Today we look at why out-of-staters might be losing interest in Texas. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Texas is the fourth most. Screw it. I'm just gonna wing it. Texas is the second most populous state in the U.S. and the third most popular state for state-to-state migration over the last 2 decades. That may be coming to an end. The Lone Star State has been experiencing a significant slowdown in population growth over the last 5 years, especially when you look at the out-of-state migration. According to the latest estimates by the U.S. Census Bureau, the out-of-state population growth rate of Texas slowed down to 0.6% per year from 2017 to 2022. And that's compared to 1.7% from 2012 to 2017. Those don't sound like big numbers, but when you're talking about a state this size, they are. The decline in population growth can be attributed to a variety of different factors, including changes in migration patterns, economic conditions, people giving you the finger for having California license plates, and demographic shifts. Now, let me be clear before we get rolling. Texas is still growing in population. The Lone Star State will continue to grow for quite some time, I'm sure. It's just the amount of people from other states, or net domestic migration, has dropped quite a bit per year in the last 5 years. Now, when you look at what's going on in Texas, this decline in net migration can be attributed to a number of factors, but there's a few that really stand out. Lack of affordable housing, cost of living, and increased traffic congestion in urban areas. These are the same patterns many states have seen before when they got popular. California, Oregon, Florida, New York, Hawaii, and even Arizona to a degree. They've all been through this same thing. I know when you're sitting in a state like Texas or something, you think it's only happening to you. No, it's happened before. People move around for a better life, and when too many people move to a place that is popular and is promising a better life, things get crowded and expensive. I just mentioned this on a radio interview last month. Human beings migrate. They always will. The main driver is survival. Back in the day, we followed herds, we looked for better shelters, and migrated to warmer climates, all in an attempt to better our chances of survival. Thousands of years later, we're doing the same stuff, but we've just adapted to the world we live in today. We don't follow the herds or game, we follow companies and jobs. We don't look for better climate as much as we used to, but we still look for better shelter in the form of more affordable housing or better neighborhoods. And that is why people moved to Texas for a long time. They just wanted a better life, better their chances of survival. Thing is, those things that drew people into Texas aren't as appealing as they were a decade or two ago. Now, one of the biggest factors of those that's attributed to the slowdown in population growth in Texas is the impact of economic conditions on migration patterns. Texas has long been known for its strong economy, with a bunch of different industries like energy, healthcare, technology, and border patrol agents, apparently. Those are all good industries, and they've helped push this state along. It's just the state's economy has faced challenges in recent years, including the impact of COVID-19. This led to a decline in job opportunities and reduced economic growth. As a result, fewer people have been moving to Texas in search of job opportunities, which has contributed to the decline in the population growth. Now, all states felt this, but not all states were on everyone's radar as a great place to go and get a fresh start like Texas was. When a curveball like a recession, a depression, or in this case, a pandemic is thrown at a good economy, it hurts a lot more than when a curveball is thrown at an economy like Mississippi, which really isn't much of an economy. Another factor is the demographic shift. This one really doesn't affect the state-to-state migration as much. It does have some residual to it, but this is more focused on what's going on in the state with their born and raised population. As Texas population has aged, the birth rate has decreased, which has led to a decline in natural population growth. Additionally, the state has seen an increase in the number of people moving out of Texas to retire or seek a more affordable cost of living elsewhere. Like I said, it's been getting expensive in Texas. It gets expensive everywhere, but when you got a great economy, it gets a little expensive a little quicker than other states. This has led to a net outflow of older residents, which has further contributed to the slowdown in population growth. Now, there's a few other factors that are a fraction of the population, but they all build up. Things like you have a child in Texas and you've been living there because you moved there 10 years ago. Or your career. Now you have a family and a lot of people move back to where they came from when they start a family. And to piggyback on that, during the pandemic, a lot of people got pregnant. Like I've said before, when you're stuck inside with someone for a really long time, you start bumping uglies. We don't marry and live together just for the conversation. One of the most notable and talked about factors is real estate in Texas. There's only a few states that have seen real estate prices climb as fast as Texas has. Now we're talking about an entire state, so it's really hard to get the prices narrowed down, but there is an average for the state year over year. I'm just using this to show you how fast and how high the prices have gone. In June of 2012, the average home price for a 3-bedroom house was $215,000. 5 years later, in June of 2017, it had climbed to $263,000. So almost $50,000 in 5 years. That's not terrible. In June of 2022, that price had climbed to $452,000. Now, obviously, that's just the averages. You have multi-million-dollar homes in Texas and shacks that really aren't fit for humans going for about $50,000. Now, those are great numbers if you're a realtor or you're someone looking to sell a home that you bought in the 1980s, but not so much if you're moving to Texas and looking for some real estate, whether it's residential or commercial real estate. I can't overstate how big of a deal this is. When prices climb that fast, you start seeing some serious changes in what's going on in the cities and the entire state, really. The cool thing about Texas, though, out of all these problems they have, crime isn't as big an issue as it is in other states. I mean, they got Houston. Houston's got some issues, but that never seems to be a factor people are taking in when they do or don't move to Texas. Not saying Texas has no crime whatsoever. They just don't have as much as comparable states. I mean, if you ask me, Houston's kind of a nightmare. I do enjoy one thing there. It's called the Crawfish Critics Cook-Off and Festival. This year it's on April 14th and 15th at Three Palms Action Park in Conroe, Texas. I always want to call it Cornrow. Don't know why. And that little festival is a perfect example about what's really good in Texas. There's always something to do. They have amazing festivals, events, amusement parks, museums, historic sites like the Alamo. I spent an entire 2 days in San Antonio. I was depressed that the river was actually drained for cleaning the week I went, but I didn't run out of things to do. And that's how it is with every major city in Texas. Even the smaller ones have amazing things to do. I think if their slowdown continues, you'll really only see it in the big cities. The smaller cities and towns will continue to see people find their way into the community, buy real estate, open up businesses, things like that. Texas will always have potential. Where that potential is just might shift a little bit over the decades. In conclusion, the slowdown in population growth in Texas can be attributed to a combination of factors, including the decline in the net migration, the impact of cost of living, real estate, and demographic shifts. While Texas remains one of the fastest growing states in the U.S., it's important for policymakers and stakeholders to address these changes in order to maintain the state's economic vitality and to make sure it remains an attractive destination for people to live, work, and raise a family. Personally, I think a little slowdown will help out the state, especially for the longtime residents or native Texans. That might slow down the rise in real estate prices and cost of living. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.